So what do you think? Is eliminating taxes on overtime a pie-in-the-sky dream or not? I mean, we all love the idea of not paying as much taxes, you know. On the other hand, we also live in a civilized society where we all have to kick in and help support the infrastructure of our society. We all benefit from having good roads, like I-4 here that I'm driving on. Some people might say it's not a great road. And having public schools, libraries, fire departments, police departments, and all of that. So we need to pitch in. We need to pay taxes. There will always be arguments, of course, about how much of that we should have to pay, because you're always going to have arguments about who is spending how much on what. A lot of the things we do that we spend money on, there's a lot of disagreement on. You know, all the money we're sending to Ukraine, for instance, to fight Russia, you know, how much of that is really necessary stuff that we should be investing in. We may feel that for our long-term national security and for the political balance of power on this planet long-term, then maybe it's a necessary thing. Different people are going to have different opinions about that, and they're going to argue one way or the other. So you've got all these different spending things. Obviously, we've got things like Social Security, you know, the Social Security taxes that we pay to fund the Social Security retirement system, things like that we have to figure out how to keep solvent. There's always going to be a balance between how much we have coming in and how much we have going out. Some people feel that we should not have to pay any kind of taxes. I don't know who they think is going to pay for the roads that they drive on, you know, or anything like that. They say, well, you know, it's my money, I earned it, you know, I should get to keep it. On the other hand, the only reason they're earning the amount of money they are is because people know they have to pay taxes out of it and so forth. If they weren't paying any taxes, they would be making less money. So it might balance out in the long run. But it's not communism to have to pay taxes, you know. We don't live in a country or a civilization where you can just go out in the woods and be a mountain man and trap animals and go into town every few months to trade the pelts for the few things that you don't, you know, that you can't do on your own. If you're trapping and killing animals, of course, you've probably got plenty of meat. Maybe you need to buy some seeds so you can grow some plants, whatever. Get some flour to make bread. But that's not the kind of society that we live in. And we have to pay taxes. So anytime you talk about doing something that's going to reduce the tax revenue, that's a tricky subject. Some people will say, well, it's, you know, tax cuts pay for themselves. If you reduce taxes, it gives people more spendable income, which goes back into the economy. People will have more incentive to work more. And because of that, the fact that even though they're paying a lower rate, they're working more hours. And so that's going to increase the tax revenue, even though you're cutting the rates. You know, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depends on how the economy is going, really. And once again, if they're working overtime and you're not taxing those overtime, you know, hours, then that's not going to increase your tax revenue because they're not paying any taxes on it, you know. So that's not quite the same thing as just increase or decreasing the overall tax level, because if you decrease the tax rate on overtime in general, then if they work more overtime, you might still be getting more tax revenue. If you eliminate taxes on overtime, then if they work more overtime, so what? That might help them, but it's not going to help in terms of any kind of a tax revenue situation. Anytime a politician promises you that they're going to eliminate taxes, you have to wonder, okay, I guess I Wasn't paying attention there to where I wanted to turn. I'm going to go down here and turn somewhere else. Just out cruising around here a little bit. So, when a politician tries to tell me they're going to give me something, I really have to wonder, what's the catch, you know? And I tend to think a lot of it is just pie in the sky nonsense that they're telling me to get my vote. It's like when people tell you they're going to eliminate your school loan payments. That's nice, but is it going to happen or not, you know? Apparently, for some people it did happen, and that worked out good for them. And, you know, if that's the case, then obviously, you know, that'd be a good reason to vote for somebody if they're going to get rid of your student loans, and that's destroying your life. That's pretty blatantly buying people's votes. But still, anytime a politician promises you something, you have to wonder, is it something that's really going to come to pass, or if they're just saying it because they know that'll make you vote for them, and ultimately, in the end, it's just not something that's going to be workable or practical. And that, I fear, is where we probably are with the whole no income taxes on overtime thing. Because we need money. Even though a lot of people don't like it, you know, there are things we need to do, things we need to spend money on. And that's just a fact of modern life, that we as a society have to do things as a whole that we can't all individually do for ourselves, you know? And the tax revenues is what pays for that. So it'd be interesting to hear everybody's thoughts on those things. I, for one, will believe it when I see it, you know? And while I certainly wouldn't cry to be able to take home more money and pay less taxes on it, we do have to think about what we're going to do long term to pay for all the stuff we got to do, including the massive, massive debt that we have.